everyone. Hey, Data Voyagers. We're here. It's been a while. We don't do these kind of videos. So it's not a podcast. It's a video because a podcast, it's basically mostly audio only. And we have stuff to show you. And I'm here with a great guest. Is his first time in Data Voyagers. And actually, we've been wanting to do something together for quite some time. So, and I will let him introduce himself. So, straight from Germany, I think Berlin, if I'm not mistaken. Akin, welcome to Data
Yeah.
Voyages, and I hope I pronounce your name correctly. So, thank you for being here, and would mind introducing yourself?
Thank you, Igor. Thank you for having us. We're super passionate about Qlik, so thank you for the opportunity to share some of our passion projects with your community as well. So I'm Achim. I'm based actually in Frankfurt, in the center of Germany. But Light Up the company is based in Berlin because we still have a production company there that makes automotive parts and also components for the rail industry, relays and stuff like that. So that's why we're still tied to Berlin, and we were a spinoff from that production company. So we used to be the internal Qlik team for that company and still do all the analytics internally as well. But now, of course, also help a lot of other companies worldwide.
Interesting. So I think we share kind of a similar beginning. I started, now I work a lot with education in healthcare, but I started with manufacturing. That's how
Mhm.
I started. Even before Qlik, I started working with like big manufacturing, doing like ERP implementation in mainframes, AS400 in a previous life, and then in Qlik, our first customer was a manufacturing company in Ohio, and then um, actually I still work with as one of my biggest customers in manufacturing, and I have a true passion. And of course, it makes sense. Germany is famous for their engineering and manufacturing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's still
Um,
true today.
yeah. So how about light art? I think I pronounced that close
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, so
um,
Lighthouse, as mentioned, was a spin-off from that production company. Now we are a Qlik partner for about 10, 11 years. And we have been working with Qlik, started with QlikView 16 years ago, then moved to Qlik On-Prem, Qlik Cloud later. Now also do a lot of data integration projects because we see a shift. A lot of people that used to work only with Qlik Analytics now see also a need for data integration. So the portfolio of what we are doing is growing, and what we have specialized on mostly is data entry, because we have seen it is so much easier to do things directly in Qlik rather than jumping to a third tool like your ERP, your CRM. We want to do as many workflows as possible for our colleagues directly in Qlik to make the processes more efficient, more effective, and to spend more time doing actually valuable work rather than just doing a lot of clicks and some other tools to get through the right place. So that's what we have focused on mostly the last few years, and that's also what we would love to show you today.
Great. So let's talk about that. We're here to talk about Data Plus, and
Mhm.
I think it's a good idea maybe if we share a screen. So explain to us what is Data Plus, what is the use case, and we can even start with what it is, and then we can discuss how the idea
Yeah.
started.
Sure. So maybe you know this situation as well. We felt this quite a bit, that we felt a bit stuck in analytics. For a lot of years, we've done traditional analytics use cases where you've brought together all the data from the different sources, which was great in the beginning. A great step forward compared to what we had, because before we did a lot of Excel automation. So when we introduced QlikView back in the day, that was a huge leap forward. And in the beginning, also when you start using Qlik as a platform, you easily find a lot of use cases that add a lot of value, right? Whether it's in controlling, in sales, or in manufacturing, there are so many use cases. But at some point, you reach that ceiling that we call the analytics ceiling, right? And you ask, why can I not do more in Qlik? Like put a task right in the dashboard, put somebody who's responsible for it, or put a date by when a task should be solved, right? To not only use Qlik for analytics and reporting, but really to use it for your operative daily processes. And that's how we started developing Data Plus, to add to Qlik as a platform. And that allows, as you can see in this little tree, so many more use cases, like a lot of planning use cases, a lot of operative business processes that you do every day. where you can also use Qlik and get so much more out of the investment that you already made in Qlik. We often see that customers don't have to buy additional tools, but can do additional tasks in Qlik. And the recent addition, of course, is the MCP integration. Of course, the native one from Qlik, Qlik MCP, but also our own MCP that we have developed to make all of this accessible through large language models as well. And I'll just pause here for a second to show you everything that is now included. And this is not even complete because our colleagues added another extension only last week, the Heatmap Calendar that I can also show you today. And all of this was basically developed based on real life needs, right? So the table was the first part that we started with because our colleague said, I want to enter a comment directly in Qlik. And then everything else has grown from there because of real life requests and apps that we wanted to build that made all of this necessary, basically.
Interesting. I see there's a lot of things here, and but as any product, it's probably started like small based on one specific use case. So, what was the first use case, and what was the story about?
Yeah, the first use case was production controlling. We often had cases where we needed a bit more material or more time in our manufacturing than we anticipated. And the colleagues wanted to give transparency to that, right? Not having an Excel sheet somewhere where they explain what happened and why, but rather have a Qlik app. Well, they already, had a Qlik app to visualize everything that was going on, but they were missing that feature to explain, to give context, right? For example, they hired a new colleague and they trained them on the production line, and that's why they needed more time. Or there was a faulty part in the supply chain, and that's why they needed more material, right? So providing that kind of context directly in the production process without having to jump to a third-party tool like the ERP or Excel or whatever, they wanted to be able to do that directly in Qlik. And over time, in our own production company, we spend a lot of money and time on ERP customization, right? For every update, you have to pay again and again. So it becomes very expensive over time, and it takes a lot of time to implement it in the first place. And then we thought, why not do that in Qlik? Because we're so much quicker in building a Qlik app that makes all of this possible. And it's just about building another sheet and maybe requiring that possibility of an input to write that data somewhere else. And that's why we've come up with a way of writing back to our ERP system. Like, for example, master data management, right? We don't do that in our ERP, but rather we build a very smart interface that lets us automate as much as possible of that directly in Qlik, and then write that back into the ERP.
Amazing. So, can you show us like some interesting use case? So, I'm curious to see, and then I'd
Yeah.
like later to discuss the MCP because I got quite interested in that.
Of course. Yeah, that was my idea for today, to maybe show you
Hmm.
some cases of how it started in the beginning, and then maybe we can do the MCP part in the end, because that's like the future outlook where everything is headed, right?
Okay, great.
The last part of that video, of course, is how we shape it all into one bundle. I think that's quite nice for a Qlik developer, because we see often that people are very passionate and they want to build a lot of different stuff. And we see that other vendors out there, they package that accordingly. So you have to buy first one component, then later another part. And we made the very conscious decision that everything in the suite is included, right? So everything that you see here and that I will show you in practical examples, you only need one license, and then everything is in, right? And the only thing that lets you expand is the number of users who actually enter data in all of your processes. But everything that you see here, all the different extension components, like the org chart, for example, or Gantt chart that is quite popular, all of these are included from the first user. So basically, you only have to pay like 300 euros a year for that first user, and then everything is included because we want to make it very, very accessible. And maybe actually the org chart is a great starting point because we actually had one customer. It was a German rail company. They operate like freight trains and stuff in Europe. And they actually wanted to pay 20,000 euros a year. So like $25,000 a year on a dedicated software only to display their org chart and their costs in their organization, because the Qlik native org chart is not able to calculate across hierarchies. And for example, to show icons and embed other content, right? That's just not possible. So that's how we came up with developing this org chart extension that makes all of that possible. And it saved the customer 20,000 euros a year, which of course is great to show what Qlik can do in that regard. All right. So maybe one comment before we start with the practical examples. We are now on our demo tenant, and this is actually available to all of you. So if you want to have a look later at some of these apps and dive a bit deeper and have a look for yourself, then you're welcome to find this. It's demo lightart.de at .qlikcloud.com, and here you can find all of these examples and play around with them. Maybe to start with the first example, this is looking a bit off. Let me just zoom out a bit. So this is, I think, a nice way to show you what we mean with like operative everyday use cases, right? Because what you see now is basically analytics, right? This is something that you would build with Qlik to analyze something that that happened. But what we have added to this is the ability to add data to this, right? So this actually used to be a paper-based process. At the BMW plant in Berlin, they build motorcycles. So maybe you know BMW for cars. They also build very beautiful motorcycles. And this used to be a paper-based process, right? Where you had this grid and you use actually pen and paper to mark some quality defects. And what they do now is they have a tablet where they use the camera to scan a part on the component that they inspect in their quality process, and then exactly an image of that part that you just scanned actually appears, right? And at the same time, you get a catalog of defects, of possible defects from your ERP system, right? So you don't have to worry about what type of defect is even possible here. You will get that when you click on this part, right? So you get all the possible defects, like a paint defect, or down here we have a problem with the form. Down here we have a problem with the distance between the two parts. Now you can add all the defects that you have found in your quality inspection. And now you can, maybe you can see this is a container that we have, right? So it's like a pop-up. You don't have to go anywhere inside the app, but you can do everything right here. So as a user, it's very convenient. You don't have to look for the right place. You can do all your job right here. And you can customize this process however you like, right? You can add as many process steps as you need. In this case, it's only a simple comment where you can explain why there was a defect and how you want to solve it, what your next step should be. But you can also define this however you like, right? You can say, well, this is the responsibility of department or person XYZ. This needs to be solved by tomorrow. It's totally up to you how you build this process right in Qlik. And you can apply these principles to basically any business area that you have, right? Or any process that you have. So anything where people come together and they collaborate to do something together that's data-based. I think this is a really great way of making everybody's work a lot more efficient and effective. What do you think, Igor? Have you seen something like this before?
I have not. This is pretty interesting. It looks like a map object, but render the car parts
Yeah.
behind. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And I'm also surprised that BMW has actually defect. Pretty cool.
Actually, talking about the map object, what we also love to do is bringing a shop floor to a map, right? I mean, the Qlik map, of course, can not only be used for displaying what the world looks like or what your supply chain looks like in real world, but you can also just replace the world map with your factory shop floor, right? This is an example that Knorr-Bremse, a very large German maker of rail brakes and truck brakes, I think they're the biggest one in the world for that. They use this. They used to have a magnet board. So what you see in front of you now as a Qlik app used to be literally a magnet board that was printed out in the factory. And the morning crew at 6 a.m. For the maintenance for the day, they always had to run around the factory and make sure they noted in real time what is the status of each machine, right? And now we were able to digitalize all that. And for every machine, honestly, we found a different way of getting that data, right? Because some of the machines are so new that they have an API. Others, we needed a smartphone that takes a picture every 60 seconds, and then you run OCR to get the value from the counter. So it's super interesting how to get that data there. And then the next step is you can actually, select one machine. So when the maintenance crew is standing in front of the machine in the morning, they can see all the error messages that came up in the last few days. And they can take action on those error messages right away, right? And again, you see the same principle. Yeah, we have a pop-up that appears so that the user can add more context to what they see right in front of them. You can see we automatically applied a filter so that we only filter for this machine. Of course, you could also, use the Qlik magic to filter another machine right there without having to go anywhere else. And now you can either work with the data that is there, right? For example, to say, okay, this description actually needs another category of error, or they need another task that again comes from your ERP system, or you can tell by when this disturbance is expected to end, or we can even simulate to add a new error. Oh no, this happens when you work with real apps. They're not polished. Everything that we show you today are real customer examples. So this can happen. That's something that I want to show doesn't work quite properly. That we need to have a look at it. But generally, what works here is also that you add a new error message, and then you will see that we have added a large language model that will allow you to automatically cluster the type of pattern of damage, right? So if you type in oil, that you will automatically see this will be categorized as a hydraulic issue. And this is super useful because it saves so much time, right? We see so many processes, especially with the German engineers that you talked about before, Igor, where highly paid experts sit in front of long Excel sheets and they simply categorize, this is the type of message that the machine operator typed in, and what is actually the problem, so that they can then later see, what types of patterns of damage are actually relevant and what should we focus on. And we love automating that as much as possible so that people can spend more time fixing problems and less time actually understanding them.
That's pretty cool. Are those two separate objects, the map and this pop-up, or the part of the same object?
Yeah. So we actually have a bunch of objects here. One is the map in the background, right, where we just replace the world map with our factory shop floor. The second is the container. So this is one of the extensions of our suite, where you can embed any type of content, and you can see you can enter the filter logic as well if you want to. And then we have a third one. That's our data plus table, right, that you see right here, where you can add as many custom buttons here as you want. So we have one here to save data, one to add a new entry. We have one to retrain the large language model that we use for understanding the content of the description and turning that into a pattern. So these are the components that we have right here. But that's actually a good question, Igor. One important thing to understand is when we go back to the suite, all of our extensions, they communicate in real time. All right. So when you have the table and the forms, that can look like this, for example. When you combine the two in one app, you can make sure they update each other in real time, right? So you do not need a reload as long as you're working with these Data Plus objects. They can update each other in real time, or Data Plus Flow, for example, with more advanced flows. And only when you want to update native Qlik objects, like a Qlik native heat map, for example, or a bar chart, stuff like that. If you want to update that, then you need a reload. Which we usually do with a binary reload to be super quick.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. And you have like the power of the Qlik engine on the back end doing all the calculations.
Yeah,
That's pretty
exactly.
awesome. Question about that last object. Have you? I'm just curious. Have you ever used this outside of manufacturing? Because I can see
Yeah.
some pretty interesting use cases in healthcare. For example, you see the hospital
Mhm.
floor, and see
Yeah.
occupation in different rooms, operating rooms. As
Yeah.
I can see like healthcare as one example. Great use for that.
Yeah, you're honestly, we're seeing a lot of demand from healthcare right now. In Germany, both insurance companies as well as hospitals. Um, it's especially those that already use Qlik that find us later at an event or something like that, because we don't do any active sales. We rather share ideas, and then people come find us that like those ideas, and they start working with us. So we didn't like identify healthcare as a field of growth and then hire 10 salespeople to make that happen, right? But they have found us, and they love optimizing their processes, because especially in health insurances, they have so many manual processes where people come together and work on data, like processing requests for refunds and all of that, right? And they love automating their tasks using Data Plus.
Very nice. So
And
what are we looking at now?
yeah, this is one of our procurement dashboards that was super helpful during COVID, because right now you see a lot of green right here in the center. This used to be all red during COVID, right? Because you see we have right now nine procurement officers. Usually you would have the names here. We anonymize that to show it publicly. And then you have the statuses of all those open orders, right? So usually you pick your own name. Maybe one colleague is on vacation, one colleague is sick, right? So this is your daily work that you want to look at. And then you look at all the red, the critical orders, right? Because everything that's green, you don't have to worry about. And now you see we have 92 open orders with 38 different suppliers. And maybe you want to focus on, maybe you already worked on the first top one, maybe you want to work on number 2 and 3 right now to be very efficient, right? And then you see our Data Plus table here at the bottom, where you can take any action that you want to take, right? So one action would be to jump exactly to that part of your ERP system, right? To not have to look for this order in your ERP, but jumping directly there. That's already saving you a lot of time. And then once you have called the supplier, you can update any of this, right? So we used it basically as a call sheet, to be efficient during COVID. So for example, you can say, thank you, this is done, this is solved. I called the supplier. He told me to call again tomorrow. Then you can save it, and then it'll disappear. So let's have a look. It's 1296, right? As this is like a to-do list, we want this to disappear because this is taken care of, right? This is not critical anymore. It's something that we worked on. Because what we can see now is if we add those tasks that we have already worked on, you can see there's exactly one that we have done, right? And we love using this principle of adding different statuses to different tasks, because it can make your organization so much more efficient, right? When you don't have to look at everything that's going on, but only specifically at that part of the data that's really relevant. And then you can go further. You can write a text message to your supplier. You can ask a colleague to approve this via Teams. Maybe this is something that maybe it's something that you want to buy, right? And maybe you need approval from your manager. So one way of integrating that right here is you could send them a Teams message, right? Let me just open my Microsoft Teams. So we have a dedicated channel for this, where you will find all the details from exactly that purchase order. So it's data-driven from Qlik into Teams. But now where it gets really special, and I think so far we are the only ones doing this in the world. I haven't seen this anywhere else, is you can give feedback directly from Teams, right? So you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to follow a link back to Qlik, but you can say, no, this is not approved. This is too expensive, right? And then you can send this directly from your Teams account without having to go anywhere. And now you can see within 1 second that gets sent back to Qlik. This is not approved. This is too expensive.
So you added the write-back functionality from Teams back to Qlik, and it was super fast because I didn't even see refresh. It was like that. This is pretty
Again,
impressive.
there we do not need a reload, right? Because we were using our own API backend that we are writing into. So when we are displaying this table inside of Qlik, we do not need a reload. So you can think of any process where you need approvals, where you need plan values from cost center owners or stuff like that. Anything like that, where you need more people, you can just send one button, one bulk edit, so to say, and then share that with everybody that needs to give you some feedback or an approval, and then you're done. So it's super effective.
That's pretty good, pretty impressive. Yeah, and you're right. I never seen this. Yeah.
And that means a lot coming from you, because I think you have a pretty good overview of what is possible. But we don't stop there. With Teams, we cover like 50 to 80% of people, because most of them organize their day in Teams. But some people are even more old school, and they organize their day with Outlook, right? So what the next step that we took was to send an email, right? But not sending an email that lets you go to a Qlik app and then take action in the Qlik app, but rather we want to share all the necessary context directly in the email. And then we want you to be able to give feedback directly from that email without having to jump to another tool, without having to log in, thinking about your two-factor authentication, stuff like that, right? That slows you down in your daily processes. You can do checkboxes, you can do plan values, you can do comments, approvals, whatever you need. Approved directly from your email, not having to go anywhere else. You'll get feedback here that this was successful. And now you simply go back and you can see this is approved, right? Again, within like 1 second.
That's
So
pretty
we
good.
love,
So yeah,
we love playing around with that and building that into pretty much any process you can think of. Our customers have built approval processes, even more step ones, right? Where first your boss approves and later a department head or the CEO or whoever else needs to approve. So that is possible. People love using this for planning processes like cost center planning, sales planning. Think of a seller. They're busy all the time, right? But when they are on the road, traveling from one customer to the other, they'll just get a simple Teams pop up. And they're able to say, okay, I'm committing this number for my forecast for this month or this quarter or stuff like that. So it's super easy and convenient to work with.
that's very nice, very nice. Any what's the next surprise you want to show us?
All right, let's close this one. The next one was actually our most popular video on LinkedIn. So I don't know whether you follow us on LinkedIn, but we try to publish some new content every week, some
I
new
do,
ideas
yeah.
of stuff that you can do with Qlik as well, because we love doing more inside of the Qlik platform. And sometimes we have a pretty good feeling of how content will perform, but this one was a very positive surprise. And that's our Heatmap Calendar. It is what one of our colleagues built because they had a problem where they wanted to visualize sales throughout the year. And the customer wanted a real-time overview of how did they perform on individual days. And this wasn't possible Qlik natively. So that's why within a couple of days, they built a quick extension to solve this, to build a custom visualization. And for some reason, people fell in love with this and really interacted a lot on LinkedIn and YouTube. So if you want to try this out for your own data, you are very, very flexible, for example, in deciding how many rows do you want, how many columns do you want for this calendar. You can set it up very simply. And apparently people really go crazy over this. So if you want to try this out, this one is actually free. So if we go back to the wiki, this is one of, you will find the Heatmap calendar here with all the technical description on it and a free download. So all the extensions that you find here in the middle, all of them are free. Like, for example, also our quick table, that was also one of our most popular posts that we ever did on LinkedIn, because we also supply this for free to the whole Qlik community, because we love giving stuff back, also because we learned a lot on Qlik community from other people. Like the first idea for the quick table was actually not by us, but by Christoph Schwarz. I think you know him as well, right? He's also one of the partner ambassadors for many years, with many contributions to the community. And we adapted that idea to our needs and changed it slightly, and now also made it available for free to everybody else. So if you would like to try this out to make your Qlik development a bit simpler and faster, just write me a message and I'll send you the download link at the end.
Great. Yeah, yeah. And okay, I like that. Okay.
Nice.
Quick question, and
Yeah.
I think I already know the answer. Do I need to learn German to use?
No, of course, Data Plus is fully in English.
Okay,
So
great.
unfortunately, we don't provide any other languages. We've gotten some questions. Do we support French or Spanish and stuff like that? No. We designed data beginning to be used internationally. So that's why we included English and all the necessary currencies and stuff like that. Now we have also Swiss currencies in the Swiss numbers format because the Swiss community is going crazy with Data Plus right now. Also, recently we added Polish zloty as a currency. And if you find anything else that you need, like I think the Brazilian community is not that strong yet. So if you need the Brazilian numbers format or currency in there, just let me know, and then we will add that within a couple of days.
Great. Okay.
I thought next we can go from traditional writeback into the realm of planning, because actually it surprised us because in our company we don't have a lot of planning processes, right? We're 160 people in our manufacturing company, so it's in German we like to say management by Kontostand, so it reflects to management by the account balance that you have in your bank account, right? This is how a lot of smaller and medium companies in Germany are operated. But when we showed people what was possible with Data Plus, a lot of them told us, let's go into planning. I think this would be really great in replacing our Excel sheet that we use for cost center planning. So you will find now a lot of apps. Let me switch this to English. Yeah, there we go. You will find a lot of apps where you have user management included. This was also one reason why a lot of people started using Data Plus, because managing this in the QMC or an Excel sheet for section access can be a bit tedious. So a lot of people love using just, for example, a Qlik Heatmap on the right, and then our Data Plus table to control who can see what. So for example, I can choose my colleague Ahmad, and I can just take some cost centers away. Yeah, maybe he's a new colleague that we just hired, and I want to allow him only to see the cost centers that are relevant to him. Of course, you can apply this to any context, whether it's something that you manage in QMC, like seeing streams or seeing apps, seeing sheets, or individual things within an app, like cost centers or sales territories or whatever you need. You can apply this to anything that right now you would manage in the QMC or in an Excel sheet with section access. And this makes it super convenient. Yeah? And here you saw what happens when you do need a reload for some reason. Then it happens in like 2 seconds. Yeah? So it's very, very user friendly. Then the next part usually is managing different scenarios in your plan, right? So usually people want to create a scenario for a certain time period. Let's just call this data voyagers. Oh, there's a typo there. And this customer wanted to plan the revenues and expenses separately. They wanted to be able to stop you from being able to edit a scenario, and they wanted to be able to delete a scenario. So that's very simple. Other customers, for example, want to be able to copy a scenario with the values in there and at a percentage of like 5% more costs, 10% more revenue, stuff like that. So you can adjust this however you need, right? And now let's go actually into the plan and select. You can see we showed this to quite a few people by now. And then we can choose the comparison period that we want and all the cost centers that we want to plan. And then you can see we have a pivoted view of all the cost centers. In real life, we see like 7, 8 different hierarchies in there. And the beauty is it already starts with, you can set this first start monitor basically. If you have very deep hierarchies, and then you don't have to click open and close on all those that you don't want to see and that you want to see, but you can preset this so that every colleague gets their own individual view of exactly those values that they need, right? And then, this is the boring part. Here you can add it data, top to bottom up, however you want. All right, so this is very basic. But where this gets more exciting is, for example, the audit log, right? So something that pretty much everybody needs is the ability later to track who made which changes when. And this becomes even more important when you stop only working on this as humans, but when you add your agent army, that also helps you with this, right? So here you can see, which user made which update at which time. This even allows you to do time travel, right? So if you, on Monday, you come to the office and you think, oh, something's off, that's not right. Let's go back to Friday's data. And then you can simply do this with a one click of a button to make that possible. And here again, let's go back to what I showed you before. If you have someone that is the expert on something and you need their help, you don't have to send them a Teams message and send them a link to the Qlik app and tell them, please tell me something about the special advertising. You can simply send them a direct message and they can help you in the way that I showed you before, right? And you can imagine, I mean, for demo purposes, this didn't work yet. For demo purposes, let's pick another one. Maybe I was too quick. Sometimes I'm a bit impatient. For demo purposes, we made it possible to to choose a colleague that you want to send this to. Of course, also you can just have an Excel sheet or something like that somewhere where you define who's responsible for which cost centers. And then with one click of a button, you can send this message out to 100 people, right? And everybody will add only their data that they need to add. And you can see, again, this is context driven. So it's exactly the line that we were in. It's for the data voyages. And now we can enter both numbers. I love Qlik, as well as text, right? And again, this will be taken within like 1 second into the Qlik app. And here you can also see the multi-user view. Yeah, so if other people would be working on this right now, you can see in real time who else is working on this and what did recently change. So this is very convenient to set up more advanced planning use cases. This one is a very simple one, but I hope you still get the idea.
Yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. And how about the MCP? I'm curious about the MCP.
Yes.
And how it integrates.
Right. So let's go into the MCP. Let's first start, before we go into financial planning, let's start with our Gantt chart, because people love our Gantt chart. And apparently not everybody has one in Qlik. I think there are several ones that you can use. But ours is, as I mentioned, for free. Yeah, so everybody can use this even without Data Plus. And this is the traditional way of how we work with our Gantt chart. So we have it in our app. We have our project plan in here. And then we have, for example, the ability to upload a project plan. Yeah, if you have already one in Excel that you want to upload, then you can just simply upload your Excel here, or add images or stuff like that, right? However you want. And of course, you can manage all the content of the project plan, so all the details. You can delete tasks. You can manage the period that the task should be, or the dependencies, the colors. Everything that is displayed in the Gantt chart can be edited here. As well as the milestones, for example. Some of our customers were super eager to have those milestones in there, so that's why they are there. But of course, it doesn't stop here, right? So this is the traditional way of working with the apps, and for a lot of use cases, it still makes sense, right? If you only have a minor edit, then it still makes sense to just open the app and make a quick change. But where we see now a lot of momentum is adding Claude to the mix. We have added a project to Claude where we have scoped exactly the task that we want to do today, right? So you can see I'm working on exactly this task. And now I can say, please change to Qlik green. Let's see what he finds. I mean, the great thing about Claude is it is very, it's open to the internet. So it's very creative in finding missing information that you don't provide. And it can also be a bit of a surprise, honestly. It can react in different ways, as you know, from LLMs. Now it will probably do a Google search and look for the right hex color code of the Qlik brand. And let's see what it comes up with. And then you will see that it will actually take that information and put it into your Qlik app, right? Because what we see, like what we had previously, is we were stuck in analytics, right? We found an insight, we wanted to act on it, but we were not able to directly in Qlik. That's why we came up with Data Plus. Now when we start working with MCP, we loved it, but we found something was missing, right? Now you see the green update here. Because we wanted to take action on what we found, right? Like, for example, when you find you want to change your financial planning, you want to take action on that right away, right? Not having to jump somewhere else to do that. And that's why we've built our own MCP in addition to Qlik MCP. So we use Qlik MCP to understand the data model, everything that's in there. And then we have our own MCP to write back, right? To create either a project plan or a marketing plan, a sales plan, or financial planning, for example. And you can use this for any operative task, again, right? Where you have lots of lines that you want to work on. You can use it for master data management, for example. We had a really nice presentation at Qlik Connect with Logistics Plus from the US that use it for that. So anything that you want to automate, this opens like a whole new level to what is possible there. Any other creative ideas?
It's actually the Qlik green.
Yeah, awesome.
One time, it's pretty cool.
One time I asked it to do Qlik green, and it had like the very first Qlik green that was ever. I think it was for Qlik View
Mm.
when it was still like green and orange, right? The
Hmm.
light green. So I asked it, please use the correct one, because we are partner ambassadors. We need to use the
Oh
correct
yes,
Qlik
we
green,
need
right?
to be on top of trending for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a little off topic. It's always a challenge and a little bit of risk when you're presenting like LLMs or something, because as you said,
Mm.
there's always, because it's not deterministic, it's probabilistic. There's always
Yeah,
a chance that we hallucinate a little bit, but it's
yeah.
pretty good. Yeah. And it was
Because you want,
interesting how, yeah, how fast it did and all that, and using Sonnet, so
yeah,
you don't even have to
yeah,
use like the expensive
yeah.
models. Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
good.
of course, you can change the model. We also
Hmm.
like to play around with that to understand for which tasks which model is the right one. And of course, you don't have to use Claude, right? One of the main questions we get is, do I have to get a Claude license now to use this? The beauty of MCP is you can choose your own LLM, right? It's totally up to you. We have some customers that even use on-prem LLMs, and we have even built our own on-prem MCP. So that even with Qlik, you don't have to move to Qlik Cloud to be able to use this. But we have a full solution that works basically the same way, fully on-prem. So you can have Qlik on-prem, you can have your LLM on-prem if you want to. So this is really, really flexible. And maybe I can
Great.
show you one last use case,
Sure.
and that is financial planning. Because in financial planning, oh, sorry, I closed it. In financial planning, often you have very large tables that you want to fill, right? And one thing that we saw is when something changes, like the war in Iran, for example, right? It happens very quickly, or the U.S. government has an idea to introduce some new tariffs very spontaneously. We've seen all of that happen in the last few weeks. Then you want to be able, as an organization, to react very quickly, right? So what we can do now is maybe as a human, I can say I create a new scenario. Let's call it data voyages, so we know which one it was. And then manually, we can say we want to start planning next year, 2027, maybe in January. And now we can ask Claude to do everything else for us, right? So we don't have to look at the actuals and be a bit creative in the numbers, but we can do all the, let Claude do all the lazy work, I would say. So we have another project here for financial planning. And you can see we have the instructions down here, right? And this is super nice because it allows you to come up with new use cases in only a few minutes, right? Because you will only need to copy these instructions, change them according to your use case. And that way you can be very efficient in creating new use cases, right? Especially very token efficient, because we tell Claude exactly what to do and what not to do. All right, which
We
saves
can
so
even, I
many
think,
tokens.
turn that into a skill, right? And
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, so far, Igor, we've learned that the instructions are actually enough. You don't need a skill. I mean, of course, you could add one if you want to, but our best experience actually is with the instructions.
Great.
Now we have created a new scenario. I think we called it data voyages. Yeah. So I just created a new planning scenario called data voyages. Please pop you late plan. And now let's see what happens. In the instructions, we told it to offer us different options before it actually completes the task. So now let's see how it actually does. And while this is working, let me just filter for the scenario ID so that when we go into the plan, it already has our scenario. All right, let's do an AI analysis. I like that. So we have found the ID 40 planning year 2027. Month is January. That sounds good. And of course, we gave it some background of what the AI analysis should look like. And you can see this has not been connected for a while. So I think this is the right one. The other one was our on-prem MCP, so this should be our cloud MCP. So let me just go back to our MCP settings to make sure this is actually connected. I'll just open that up over here. Here we go. Now it's connected. Please continue.
We don't see a Claude. We just see. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I just opened it on another window to do the connection, but now it should be working.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and now we allow this. Let me open Qlik again on the other side. Here we go. And now we can see we are using Qlik MCP, right, to get all the data. And now it is preparing the plan. So now it's actually looking into the actuals of last year, and it is applying certain factors on cost and on revenue. And that way we don't have to actually fill out all the data ourselves. And what is really nice as well is we have a full audit trail available here. So we don't need to write that into a separate table or something, but we get all that information here to see what the agent has done. That is interesting.
And the MCP comes with like the standard license and with like
Yeah, for now it's included. The customer
Mhm.
brings their own LLM, so that's why we don't have to worry about the LLM cost.
Yeah.
And then we only do take care of the connection. And right now, Data Plus MCP is included in the Data Plus license, so we don't charge extra for that. That may change over time when we see that we have more costs on our side as well, because of course for us it's also cloud-based. We set it up in a very smart way, so we hope we can keep it included in the license, but we will have to see how this will evolve in the future.
All right. And talking about licensing, it's per user base, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in general, we are very flexible on licensing it because we see customers have very different demands for this. Some have a high number of users, like 5,000 users, but they only need to enter a small comment, and others have a small group of users, but they have really advanced use cases, right? Like replacing a full-fledged financial planning tool that costs 100,000 euros on its own. So that's why we are very flexible in the pricing and also always find a way that works for that customer. All right, so now we see we have an answer for data voyages. Sorry, I had a spelling mistake there. And maybe we can say don't just write as is, but we want to have some growth and decline. So maybe we will choose 5%, no, 3% for revenue and 2% for cost. That sounds realistic in the current economic climate. And now you will see that this whole planning scenario is filled in without you having to do anything, right? So Claude will do everything for you in the background, and we just need to choose the right scenario, and then it will show us accordingly. So today Claude is not very quick.
Yeah.
Usually this works great.
Yeah.
But as you said before, this is probabilistic, so you never know exactly how it reacts.
But it's good. I mean, there's a lot of calculation going on behind the scenes. Yeah. I mean, as long as it's a good, if I'm working on this, it's a good time for like a coffee break or something. I'll go back, the work will be done. or I could be
Yeah.
working in something
No,
else, answering
actually,
emails. Yeah.
usually, Igor, it only takes about a minute to fill
Hmm.
out a complete financial plan. That's how great the performance is. So maybe I can show you while we're waiting here. I can just show you one scenario that was already filled out, so you can see. We have the revenues, we have the cost of goods sold, we have the operating expenses, and it uses all the actuals and then just applies the factors that you want, right? And usually this takes about 60 seconds to fill out. And unfortunately, as we are we are showing you real apps, this is not working perfectly right now. So we can only invite the audience if you want to have a look at this.
Hmm.
Just reach out to us on LinkedIn. You can even book an appointment in my calendar right there. And then we'll be happy to show you a custom demo exactly for your needs. And I promise that time it'll work.
Yeah, and all the links, everything will be in this video description. So our audience can check the video description, and there will be like all the links. It'll be easy to find those resource materials and get in touch.
Yeah.
All right.
And maybe as one last part, I can invite you to
Mhm.
join our YouTube channel. I mean, of course, you can follow us on LinkedIn and see our new content there. But also on YouTube, you will find so many videos of practical examples how we use this. For example, the Heatmap Calendar or our new Data Plus Kanban board. Because we saw a lot of customers that used our Data Plus table to create a Kanban board. So now it supports drag and drop on the interface. You can see master data management with MCP. You can see financial planning with MCP. The part that didn't work today definitely
Mhm.
worked before, and you can find it all here on our YouTube channel.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So thank you. In the top of the hour. So this is pretty good, and it's youtube.com / at light art, and of
Yeah,
course in the
yeah. Just
description of the
search for
video.
light art on
Yep.
YouTube, and then you'll find it.
And in the description of the video, you will find the link as well. So Hakin, again, thank you very much. This was awesome, and we finally did something together. Yeah, and it's only the first of many for the
Yeah, Igor,
collaborations.
what I like most about this suite is we add to it all the time, right? I mean, you
Mhm.
saw the Gantt chart today, you saw the heat map calendar. Those were only added this year, or MCP. We didn't have MCP last year. Yeah, all of that was added this year. So for me, it's really awesome to see how the community is evolving because we have more and more Qlik partners now that join us. We have more customers using the product, giving us feedback. So what I'm super happy about is this community that is growing, that is adding more ideas to what else you can do with Qlik. And often it's only very small parts that are missing, right? Where we develop a small extension. Like what is totally new to us now is data integration, right? We're currently working on data stewardship and data quality extensions, also for QTC. Where you get new front ends directly in Qlik Cloud that allow a business user to take ownership for their data. So I'm super excited to see those coming in the next few weeks as analytics and data integration is growing more and more together and more user friendly, right? You don't need to be an expert anymore to do all of this, but you can give it really into the hands of the business user and allow them to be a lot more effective in their work. That is really what is motivating us to keep doing all this work.
That's awesome. All right, so thank you, and again for our listeners, thank you for watching this, and all the links will be in the description. And follow Light Art, follow Data Voyages, and all right, thank you again, and see you guys next time.
Thank you everyone for watching.